Howdy, and welcome to Courtside Conversations, the backstory on why champions choose Covington. I'm Tommy Ellison, Marketing Director with Covington, and today we have a special guest who's no stranger to success on the hardwood. Joining us is Coach Wright, the longtime men's basketball coach at Northeast Mississippi Community College. Coach Wright has led his team to numerous championships there in Mississippi, building a legacy of excellence and determination both on and off the court. Today, we're celebrating more than just his winning record. We're highlighting the recent installation of a brand new Robins MVP maple basketball floor in his home court arena, a floor chosen for its unmatched performance and quality, just like the teams that play on it. In this exclusive interview, recorded recently and now being shared for the first time, Coach Wright talks about what it means to have a championship caliber court and why he trusts Covington for his facility needs. So sit back and enjoy the Courtside Conversation with Coach Wright. Well, Coach, I wanted to welcome you to this interview and thank you for doing this. And just a little bit about yourself. I understand you're a product of Lafayette, Louisiana.
Yeah. Born there, lived there, went to high school there. My dad was a college coach at the Division I level, so as you can imagine, we moved around quite a bit as college coaches do. But Lafayette's where I was born, and Lafayette's where I went to high school, and so that's where I consider my home. That's where a lot of my family still lives. So that's the place of residency when it comes down to home.
In fact, I was laughing because when I was looking at the history of the building, the Bonner Arnold Coliseum, I noticed it was built in '51, and I thought, wow, that's a really old building, until I realized that was the year I was born. So, to me, that's a young thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that changes the perspective of the building. I understand that.
Yeah. Well, Coach, what was your initial reaction when you first saw and stepped onto your new Robins MVP floor?
Well, I mean, obviously the first impression was very, very nice. I mean, it was just the look of it. Anything new, obviously, your first impression should be an eye-opening one. Just because of the new paint and the new look, that first drew the attention. And I think, obviously, as we've brought new people into the building, whether it's other teams, other players, recruits of that nature, it has a nice little pop to it. I thought we did a tremendous job with the design of it and the graphics that made it pop and stand out. So initially, like anything, it stood out. It was eye-popping, and I think it took a lot of people's attention right off the bat.
That's a beautiful floor, and I know that it's somewhat similar to your original branding, I would think.
We liked a lot of what we had previously on the other floor, and it wasn't tremendously in terms of design too old. And so what we kind of went with we liked the big tiger head in the middle. We went away from before we had it stained. Now we put some color to bring some extra. We changed up the baseline a little bit. We did like the tiger stripes along the sideline, so we went back to that. We lightened the main part of the floor as it was before, so it made it stand out a lot more. We got new lights in here a couple of years ago, and so obviously the picture is very, very nice, but if you walk in the gym with the lights and the way that it looks in person, it really, really does it more justice in the picture. Our president here, Dr. Ricky Ford, basically held every role you could possibly have here from an athletic standpoint. He was the women's coach, obviously very, very successful, won a national title back in the 80s, played for another national title the year before he won one, and then had opportunities to leave like a lot of coaches here, but chose to stay and ride this thing out, then became an athletic director. Actually, when I got the job here, he was the vice president. And then moved into the president. He's been the president now for, I want to say, close to 8 years. So, like I said, a guy that stature that's done so much for this college, along with his success that he had in every aspect. Obviously, winning games was one of his main things, but he was able to we honored him by putting his name on the floor, which was obviously one of those things that was well deserved, but it was, as soon as it was brought up, immediately well received by anybody and everybody on this campus. So Ricky G. Ford Court is the name of our floor.
Well, how does the new floor compare to the previous floor that you had in terms of, well, look or feel or performance, but primarily for performance, the feel of the floor?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about the look, which obviously has a tremendous look to it. The pop and everything that's about it that the normal fan sees stands out. From a performance standpoint, it's night and day. Doesn't even explain what it is to our athletes, to us as coaches. I mean, and I say us as coaches because as we get older, we obviously there's some wear and tear in our bodies that you used to walk down the floor and you didn't realize what you were walking on at times and how you feel out there, coaches after practice, and we our players they don't probably completely understand because to them it's just a court at times, but we see that the wear that it has on the body, the give, the support. When I was just mind blown by the process of it and the cushion and the support and the stuff that goes into the floor that the average person doesn't obviously see. So when I
Yeah.
see that, even watching our players run down the floor, I notice some give in the floor and some support that they don't understand. It's taken off of their joints and their body and their bones and stuff. So you can tell throughout the course of the year how we've been. It's late January now, and we've practiced probably close to 75, 80 times, including all our conditioning. And so we've had a bunch of 20 something games, and our guys are still fairly fresh. There's still some bounce, there's still some give in their body. And I really think that other teams have been in here and played. I think the injury reduction we've had over the last year has really been, from that floor.
The MVP that we installed in your gym there is actually designed to optimize the energy return and to reduce the impact force. But more importantly, there was a lot of research done when that floor was developed by a gentleman by the name of Benno Nigg at the University of Calgary's Biomechanical Institute. And the theory behind it was if you could tune a floor to match the harmonics of human tissue, you could reduce fatigue. And if you reduce fatigue, you also mitigate the possibility of injury related back to fatigue. And so that was the purpose. And the original installation, I guess you would say, was with the Chicago Bulls Training Center as a kind of a test site, and it's got great feedback wherever we've put it. And have your players reported any difference in the way they feel the floor is impacting their practices or games?
I mean, not directly in terms of, hey, coach, this about the floor, because I mean, let's be honest, kids are kids. They don't
Sure.
understand some of the things, but I think because it's a fresh floor and a new floor, and because we explain to them the difference, especially whether it's in recruiting or just they have noticed that, like you kind of mentioned previously, their energy level, their fatigue is not there. They don't hurt as much at times. The previous floor we had was over 50 something, 60 years old, and
Mm.
you can just imagine, obviously, like you just mentioned, the technology and the engineering that's moved on from 50 years ago. So, in our case, I think just our guys, when you acknowledge it and you let them understand what they're on, then it does impact them. They do make a difference, and they understand it a little bit more. And I think some of the guys from last year to this year have even kind of felt a little fresher, a little bit better. They're not as, like you said, fatigued. And obviously we're late January, and we still got a lot of basketball left, but I think that's going to really help us.
Have your trainers noticed any type of reduction in what I would call floor related injury?
Knock on wood, as we would say, but we've been fortunate on the injuries this particular year. Our trainers have noticed that we're not dealing with as many like knee and joint and ankles and different stuff of that nature that they've said that over the years they feel like we're constantly having to knee tendonitis and stuff of that nature that our guys are dealing with. They're not really addressing that as much. Our guys are coming down there if there's actually an injury. Same thing with our backs. We had a bunch of guys in the past that had some lower back issues. Again, as coaches, I think that's an area too. You walk that floor and I know our athletic director's made multiple comments about how much better he feels as he's been throughout and out the gym, just because of that cushion and support that's underneath there. And it's one again. From my perspective, I was one of those ones that you didn't really notice it till you noticed it, I guess. But Like now we come in and I wake up next day and I'm not nearly as sore as I felt like yesterday. And I know it's sad to say when you get older, that's walking on a floor can make you feel that way. But, it's like getting a new pair of shoes, and you got that cushion support and you know the difference between a good pair of shoes and just an average pair of shoes. And obviously, when you have a court like this, that's got obviously top of the line, there's a big difference, and it pays off. And everybody's fresher and it's got a little more bounce to themselves.
I remember back, this has been a while back, we put a new floor at Alexander Coliseum at Georgia Tech. And the first game, one of the young All-American freshmen commented to the press. He said, normally after every game I have to ice my knees, but tonight I feel no pain. And it was quoted in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and I could have kissed him because it was just a great quote and kind of summed up what we were trying to do. In fact, floor.
I'll second that with our players. And I know our women's team in particular always kind of notice after their practice because they practice before us, and then they're always coming out with double bags, ice on their knees, and some of it's just prevention, some of it's just one of those situations where. And over this past year, I haven't noticed it. And same thing goes with our guys. I think typically after practice, hey, who needs ice? And if we've got 14 guys, there's 28 bags of ice for guys' knees and everything else. Well, this year it's not as much. And I can't say it's because we're not playing as hard or playing as fast because we've changed the style of play to where we're a pressing team and we play faster, and so we practice faster. And so there's just as much wear and tear as anything before. And our guys are, obviously some still need their treatments, but, for the most part, that's been an area that I noticed that the ice bags aren't as coming and going as they used to be for us.
Have you received any feedback from the fans or students visiting about the new floor design or appearance?
I mean, obviously the appearance is what stands out to the fans, and everybody. And, it's not just our home fans. Obviously, have really enjoyed it. They like it, and we have a unique situation here in regards to we have a very large fan base when it comes to supporting our college, and we have some older generation, and we have, as you would imagine, Northeast has got a lot of history, and so there's a lot of people in the community that are older that are really involved and care about the college, and then you got your younger generation, whether it's the students here or the young business people. And I bring that up to say that everybody has had a positive experience with the floor. We kind of, through the design, the layout, and the graphics, have kind of hit everybody. Sometimes you could do a certain thing, a new style, and it offends the older people, or you could keep some tradition, and the new guys say you want make some adjustments and get up to date. But we've kind of hit everybody with a positive experience. And, I think that from the same thing with our recruits, as soon as they come in, the pop of the gym and how it looks stands out to them. I've heard parents say, wow, this is impressive. Wow, this is nice. And then when I get into explaining to them, yes, it's new, but here's some other things that are provided for your son that you can't even see. I think it makes the experience even better.
It may be premature to ask this just now, but has your facility maintenance staff commented on maintenance or upkeep of the floor so far, or is it just pretty much the same as what you've been doing with your previous floor?
No, I mean, me and my staff, particularly my staff and I should say, are very, very, we're not maybe OCD, but we're right there on that line. We understand where we're at. We understand that this floor will last our generation, as well as a lot of stuff that we provide. So we take care of our stuff with a lot of pride. And so I think as that comes from our staff, our custodians and people on campus understand that when men's basketball gets something, we take care of it. And so I'll say that our custodian staff has done a good job. They understand that, we want this thing clean, we want this thing nice, we want this thing, and not just for a game, it's for everyday use.
Sure.
And they do a good job. I think the adjustment we had to make and a learning curve for us is everybody involved was we used to have I guess you'd call it a water squeegee, a big machine that we would run over the floor and with water every day.
Like an auto scrubber, yeah.
Auto scrubber, there you go.
Yeah.
And we learned when we were putting this floor down that that's almost the worst thing you could do for the floor.
Coach, comment, if you would, on working with Covington sales and installation technicians during the process of replacing that floor.
Tremendous. I was in involved in the early stages from, kind of being there on the ground floor because I wanted to be involved from the standpoint of, hey, look, I've coached for 20 something years and played for 20 something years, and I've never seen a floor installed. So I kind of wanted to be on the front end of just listening and learning and catching up to what kind of goes on, especially when we were about to make this transition to, one of the top courts in the country. And so, everybody was, first and foremost, respectful, professional. They knew what they were talking about. If they didn't have the answer immediately to the question, you never felt as if you were just giving some information. It was to get by. It was, well, we're not exactly sure, but we'll find out. Everything was reported back in a timely manner. The project from start to finish was done in the manner and the time that they, you're going to have issues. You're going to have snafus that come along the way, but everything was handled immediately. If we needed to get a hold of somebody about a certain issue, we were immediately, the project manager. If he didn't have the answers, the next guy. And a lot of the times sometimes they picked up the phone and called you, but most of the times they were like, hey, we'll be there tomorrow to check out the project. And so then you had a hands-on experience. The workers that were, because, what people don't understand is not only is it, we had 3 floors that we completely regutted in here. The main floor was obviously the prized possession, but there was we have 2 courts on the end that needed to be redone too. So it wasn't it was triple the work. And on top of the fact that you were removing, a court that had been here for 50 something years and nobody really knew what was underneath it. There was a lot of unknowns. The amount of concrete that was poured in here. There's some things that obviously the average person has no idea what took place to make this project happen and how well it was done in the time frame that they said it would get done, and with very, very few issues along the way that weren't resolved immediately. It was unique because, like I said, it's amazing how many times, how many gyms and courts and everything I've been in the country, and you take for granted what you're walking on or what you're looking at and how it got there. And, and I said this particular project, we had to raise 3 inches of concrete throughout the whole gym. And so there was a time frame that, nobody could really project. You're putting that amount of concrete inside of 3 courts inside of an arena with the Mississippi weather, and you never knew what was going to happen. And, so the projection was a certain amount of time, and it was pretty close, so I give those guys credit because they really, mathematically had some things figured out, but a lot of it was just, hey man, this concrete's going to cure when it cures, and we'll do the best we can. And it was amazing how close they were to making it happen. And then on that type of the guys that were working, when they came to work, those guys came to work, they worked.
Couple more questions. Is there anything you do different now that you've gone through this process?
There's nothing I would do differently. I think everything we did on the floor, we liked the graphics, we liked the design, we liked the layout and everything that went with it. No, and on our end, we hit 100. We hit a whole grand slam in our minds.
One other question, Coach. What advice would you give to other coaches or athletic directors making similar decisions on installing a new floor in their facility?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is come talk to our people and let us explain to you what we went through and how it went and how smooth and everything the process was. And the next thing I would tell them is don't be afraid of the price. You get what you pay for. They might be a little higher than, we went with MVP. It was a little higher than the next level floor. But I think the payoff over the future is and especially when you're talking about smaller schools as we are, where money's not at a premium, where this floor has to have some longevity to it. It's not going to be replaced in the next 5 years. So you get what you pay for in that regards. And so I would say, come speak with us. Let us explain to you what we went through in a positive aspect. Don't cut any corners. The floor is worth every dollar that we paid for it. Our college paid for it. Obviously didn't come out of my pocket yet, but and then, on top of it all, I think the easiest sell is the fact that, you guys as an organization were tremendous from start to finish, and never felt as if anything was not being explained to us in a proper way. I thought y'all were, obviously, was a tremendous company, but very professional throughout the process. And even when things, like all projects do, have their different days where things go well and don't go well, we never felt anybody was ever trying to pull one over. We never felt like we didn't know what was going on. We were in the know. The communication was great. So our experience from start, literally from the blueprint to the Final Four that we play on every day, was tremendous. And I highly recommend anybody, whether it's high school to the big boys, using you guys to complete the project, because it's not only done in a professional way, but the product itself is tremendous, and you can't ask for anything more than that as a consumer.
Well, I know you've joined a kind of what I would call an elite club there at Northeast, given the fact that the new floor we installed at Vandy at Memorial Gym and the hump at Mississippi State. We just finished 2 facilities in Texas, one for the Houston Rockets training facility, and the other was a San Antonio Spurs training center. And it makes us proud to do facilities like yours. Listen, I really do appreciate the time and your feedback, Coach. Thanks for watching the video. And to close with a shameless plug, when you require assistance, don't hesitate to contact Covington for a free evaluation and no obligation estimate for the repair, refinishing, or replacement of your gym floor. Visit our website at www.covington.com for contact information of the sales professional nearest you, or call us for more information. Phone numbers will be provided at the conclusion of this video. And will you do me a favor and hit the thumbs up for this video, subscribe, and share this video with your coworkers and friends. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it.